So we are so excited to be coming together and talking about one of the legends in network marketing, and that is Big Al. Guys, this event last night was absolutely amazing, and it was still like I did not even believe it was actually happening until I picked up Big Al and he was in my car. Because like I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he's coming to South Carolina. I can't believe he's coming. So let me just tell you a little story real quick about how that happened. And it is such a great just testimony to being bold and asking and networking with people. And I'm not saying that because of anything that I did. There are so many other people on here who would have done the exact same thing, but it was just really cool how it worked out. So I met Big Al 2 years ago in Orlando at Mastermind, and they did a breakout session with a guy named Mark Davis, he's authoring a book with about public speaking. Well, that's something, and some other talking in front of people and all that. So I was interested, went to the breakout session, hooked up with Mark Davis, connected with him, asked him some questions. He added me to a private Facebook group with a few hundred people in it, and I started engaging in that group. Now, for anybody that wants to expand their market on Facebook, go find a group to engage in. Okay, so that is a perfect example of that. The second thing is I started engaging there. Well, I was like, you know what? I wonder if, so I reached out to Big Al. I used his magic words on him. I'm just curious if you would be interested and available and willing to come on one of our team calls. And so a little over a year ago, he came on one of our team calls and was on Zoom from somewhere overseas somewhere. And we just connected and we started talking, and we talked about him coming to South Carolina. So a year later, he actually, guys, shows up from Asia. He lives in Thailand, and came all the way here for us. Because he loves what he does and he loves pouring into people. So you know what? It's you never know until you ask. And one of the things that Big Al talked about last night was, asking and using your words to where you don't partner with the rejection. Like, it's rejection free. It's their decision. And it's allowing people to be okay with their decision. Right, guys? So real quickly, I want you guys to shout out if you were at Big Al or if you have seen him live, because he was at convention a couple years ago. He has spoken at Super Saturday. So shout yourselves out. But really, one of those big things is just allow people, it's okay. Like, where they are in their business, in their life, in anything is okay, right? It's their choice. So tonight we are going to hear from a number of people. First off, I'm going to just, share a couple things, but we are going to hear from 5 people, and Kendra is also going to close us up, and what they kind of learned, little nuggets that they took away from last night. And the thing is what made Big Al so absolutely amazing, and I don't know if you guys agree with me at all, but he was so simple. Like, he made it so simple. And he showed us that this shy, kind of nerdy, geeky, guy can be really, really successful in network marketing for a number of different reasons, but basically because he started saying certain things. He started helping others, like, make a decision, right? And so we are in that decision-making business. Okay, so what do we need to grow our business? What are the 2 things that we need to grow our business? Customers and ambassadors, right? So we have to present and we have to talk and ask so that people either make the decision to join our team or buy our products. That's it. So what he also talked about, which was so very interesting, and a little bit about my background real quickly, is I used to do marketing consulting, website design and development, and we always said, guys, when you get on a website, you make a decision like that, right, for that homepage. If you don't like it, if something doesn't, if it doesn't look, you're off to another website, right? So it's the same thing. People make decisions in less than 20 minutes. A couple of examples that he used was, do you remember, like, when you get a sales call, you get some sort of phone call and it's a sales guy, you make a decision without hearing any information about what the person is saying. Like, he could be offering you $1 million and like a pink teddy bear, and you don't even get to that part because you have already made your decision that it's going to be a no. Okay. So if we come at people and we nag people, like he used that word, if we're nagging people, like, we need to change that, because a yes is a yes and a no is a no. And what we're trying to do is help them to make a decision. What is that? That was weird. Okay, hold on. Okay. So anyway, making, or how your mother used to always say, you can't judge a book by its cover. But y'all, we do, right? We gravitate towards people who are similar to us, and we gravitate towards people who agree with us, and we like people who are so similar. And one of the things that he said, he brought up this thing last night. He was like, so there's you're in China, and there's all these Chinese people, and you see this one American that's walking down the street. All of a sudden, y'all are best friends. You don't know if he's like an axe murderer, or if he just did whatever, but y'all are best friends because you're both American. You're like, oh my gosh, you're from LA, I'm from Georgia, we're almost neighbors because you're in China and you're similar, right? So those were just a couple of the things that I took. There was so much that I took away, but I want to hear from some of the people that were there. And the first person that I'm going to ask to speak is Tyler. Tyler, he honed in on Big Al, and I saw him talking to him a lot. So I can't wait to hear some of your takeaways, Tyler.
All right.
Hey.
Well, first off, I'm disappointed because you just stole everything I was going to say, so I have nothing to say now.
Whatever. There's so much stuff.
But guys, I have an amazing story to tell you tonight. Who's ready to hear it? Raise your hand. Anybody? Awesome. Okay. So you know how everybody wants to make more money and grow their business? Well, I found out a way to do that in less than 30 seconds. Yes, less than 30 seconds. Would you be amazed to hear that? I'm sure you would. Okay. So first off, how many of us do research before making a decision? A lot of people, right? Not really. Did you know that we actually make a decision without any information whatsoever? Think about that. Okay, you made the decision to get on this call tonight. You didn't know what the call was going to be about. You made a decision to listen to Mary Ann, even though you didn't know what she was going to say. And now you're sitting here listening to me, even though you have no idea what I'm about to say. You made that decision before knowing anything about what's going to happen next. So in the same way, we sell our products to people before they even know anything about Plexus. Kind of interesting, right? Now, why do we do that? We do that because we're already pre-programmed with things to say and ways to respond to what people say. For example, if someone comes up to you and says, would you be interested in? Before they even finish what they're getting ready to say, your first response is already no, right? Because typically what follows that is followed with some type of sales pitch trying to sell you something or get you involved in something, right? Well, in the same way, if we use those same type of words, it can cause problems for us. Now, I'm not going to go into some of those words because they're going to be shared a little bit later. But I just want to let you know that that is already pre-programmed into our subconscious. And so our subconscious actually makes thousands of decisions per second. Your heart, your lungs, your blood flow, your eye twitching, your mouth moving, all this kind of crazy stuff, your body is making decisions on that without you even thinking about it. Okay, so what we have to learn how to do is to be able to talk to someone's subconscious. We have to be able to go ahead and say the things that are going to get them to go ahead and respond with a yes answer. For example, like I said, if you say, would you be interested in, their first response is already no, even though they have no idea what you're talking about. Now, the average person's attention span is 8 seconds, which means that you have to get them interested in Plexus within 8 seconds. Sounds easy, right? Well, it will be once you learn what words to say. And like I said, that's going to be coming up a little bit later. So when we get into learning about what we need to do, oftentimes whenever we get into a business like this, we know that it's important to work on personal development. It's important to learn what we need to do, to buy the books, to take our products, to learn everything we can about the products, learn what we can about the compensation plan, to learn what we can, from our upline, right? But we'll not get any sales by simply learning alone. We have to actually go out and apply what we learn, because otherwise what we learn really was a waste of time if we don't use it, correct? So we have to apply the skills that we learn to be able to do that. And each of us is given different skills with our own natural personalities. So we have to learn how to speak to people based on who we already are. Like Mary Ann said earlier, when you go into a room, you're typically going to find someone who is similar to you to talk to. Or if you go to another country, it's even easier because you'll spot someone similar to you even faster. Well, the same way, whenever we speak to other people, we have to go ahead and build instant trust and rapport without them ever knowing anything. So we have to say something that they will agree upon initially from the first start. Like, for example, I use the sentence, you know how everyone wants to make more money. Everyone does want to make more money, correct? So the person's already saying yes without me telling them anything about what I'm about to say. So you have to go ahead and lead into things that people are already agreeing upon and wanting to say yes to. And the more yeses you can get them to say within their head, the more they're going to say yes whenever the time comes to make the decision. Because like I said, they've made the decision before you ever tell them anything. Just like you made the decision to get on this call without me telling you anything. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over and let them tell you the rest of the story.
So good. We are moving on. Crystal.
Hey y'all. Yes. So last night was awesome. So let me shout out Mary Ann. You know, I love you. You know how excited I was. Like, I got 2 of my Big Al books signed last night. I can't find them. I can't dig them out. But yeah, so I was really excited about that. And Stacy went with me last night. I had a couple of people from my team there. And, you know, being there at that event with my team was awesome, hearing their takeaways. But let me tell you what was so fun. The drive down there and the drive home. Y'all all know that I have this 15-passenger van. So we loaded it up and drove down there, and we had some of the best conversations. I'm not going to say all of it was about Plexus because it wasn't. But, you know, being able to spend that time with my team, laughing and putting up and getting to know them, I mean, that has probably been my favorite part about spending time, you know, with my team, being there and being able to network and hearing what Big Al had to say. You know, that was awesome. But the conversations that we had in Bertha here in my 15-passenger van probably topped all of that off, just that one-on-one time with my team. But my Big Al takeaways, first of all, don't judge this business by where you are now, because you can't help what you don't know. What you don't know, you don't know. And so he probably said, I can't say it like he does because he just has a funny way of saying things, but we can't help what we don't know. And we can't blame ourselves. We can't blame anybody else. You know, we can blame our upline if you want to say that. But if they don't know it, they don't know that they don't know. So if you don't know what you don't know, you can't fix anything about it. And so that's what he was really big on last night, is just, you know, we've got to figure out what we need to know to be successful. And Mary Ann had already said, you know, the things that he did and the words that he uses, he's done all the trial and error. You know, I mean, he literally was talking about making a list and trying out words and seeing if they worked or not, and then changing those words around until he found what works. He is a super, super green personality. I could never sit down and do that. But he's done all the work. And so he's got 46 years in this business of experience of trial and error. Got to figure out. He told us last night that he talked to like 1,500 people in his first 10 months, a year and 10 months in the business, and they all said no. And when he figured out what he needed to do, he went through the personal development, which we all know is huge. Then he learned the skills, which is, you know, the next step. Once he learned those skills, he was able to go back to those same people. So don't judge by where you're at now, because you may have think that you've screwed up talking to somebody and they're never going to be interested. But if you take the time and you do the personal development and you learn the skills, like he said, you can go back to those same people And it'll be a yes this time because now you know what to say. And like Tyler was saying, you know how to speak to their subconscious, and you've learned these things. My next favorite thing, Stacy touched on it a little bit, was an introvert versus an extrovert. So him being a green personality, he had all these statistics and all these tests and all these things that had been done to prove this, but he said that you could take the most extroverted people, your best car salesman, people who can sell ice to the Eskimos, and the most introverted people who are scared to death to talk to anybody, and you put them in front of the same number of people, you give them the same chances, and the results are they're equal. They're very, very close to equal in their results. And the reason is because there's fantastic things about extroverted people. There's fantastic things about introverted people. Your introverts, they're great listeners. Your extroverts, they can talk to a light pole. There's just great things about both of them. And we need to, as an extrovert myself, I can literally talk to anybody. I have to learn and use the skills to dial it down a little bit, so I can be a better listener. And the introverts, dial it up just a little bit so they can be comfortable talking to more people. And the word comfortable, you're going to learn a lot about it shortly. But one thing that Big Al said that really struck me too was people aren't going to change unless they get uncomfortable. He gave Marianne a fantastic analogy about the thermostat, which is really, really awesome. And it's true. Unless they're uncomfortable, they're not going to change. If you're okay with where you're at, you're going to stay where you're at. If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you're going to do something about it. So introverted versus extroverted doesn't matter. If you're hungry, if you want to do this business, and you learn the skills, you do the personal development, then you learn the skills. Literally anybody can be successful in this business. It doesn't matter what your personality type. In my van last night, you had me. Everybody laughs at me because I'm so red. Donita Plemons was with me. She's super yellow. Stacy is super yellow, and Robert that was with me, he's super green. So here we were. Anybody can do this. We all have the potential to be successful. So I'm finished.
Great job, Crystal. Yes, great job. I loved what he said. He told me on the way home, I was talking to him about something. He's like, the power of motivation is being uncomfortable. You have to, once somebody is uncomfortable, that's where the change and the motivation to do something happens. So the thermostat set at 72 and it gets hot. So what happens? The air conditioning kicks on to get it back to the 72, right? 72, it gets too cold. The heat pops on to get it back to the 72. The only time that somebody is motivated to do something is when there's a lot of times when there's an uncomfortable situation. So that's kind of where our whole sick and tired of being sick and tired comes from. I was like, yes, definitely. All right, great job. Thank you so much, guys. Tanya Peterson, can you unmute yourself, please? Would love to hear your takeaways.
I just did. Can you hear me well tonight?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, yay! Hey guys, I have got a great story to tell you all tonight. The most interesting thing for me last night, it almost made me cry, was to find out that I was not in the health, wellness, and wellness business. I was actually in the decision-making business. Our job as ambassadors is not to be healthcare people. We are actually in the business of helping people make decisions. And people make decisions instantly, like Tyler had discussed. Our human brain, here we go with the science, they make decisions in sequence. Do they like you? Do they trust you? Do they believe you? Are you interesting? So we need to be all of those things instantly for people. So smiling, our body language, and you need to open up your conversation and be very interesting, and how to grip people's attention since you're babies or since you're an infant and toddlers. You want to hear a good story? It's a perfect line, and then you follow it with your story. Sorry, I choked. And our attention span, someone did touch on that, is about 8 seconds. So you have 8 seconds to tell your story, and then another 30 seconds to elaborate. Was that right, Tyler? Shake your head yes or no. Well, anyway, we're going to move on. One of the very other interesting things that Big Al talked about last night was 7 words that you repeat in 3 different ways over and over again until they're done asking. So what you say is, what would you like to know first? And you shrug. So what would you like to know first? And then they ask you the question, or they tell you what they want to know. After that, so what do you want to know next? And you shrug a little bit. And then they tell you what they want to know, and you just keep repeating this until they don't have any more questions to ask you. And then when you get to there, you say, okay, so what would you like to do next? And that brings you into action on their part. And one other thing that is really interesting that he spoke to us about last night, which was very, very helpful for me, because I can talk to anybody, anywhere, about anything, apparently, except when it comes to Plexus. It's just unbelievable. So last night, he's talking about standing in the bank line or standing in line to pay for your fuel at the gas station because you can't see your gas pump. You have to go in and talk to the guy at the counter or the girl at the counter. So to get people to ask you for your story, you have to ask them what their story is. So you say, hey, what's new with you? What's going on with you lately? You might not know these people from Adam, but if you ask people, the most important person to them is themselves. And it's the same thing with me. I love talking about myself and telling people about myself. So, hey, Tyler, what's new with you? I just see you. You're right there. You're like right under my So I'm like, I'm talking to Tyler. And then after a while, you start to feel like, oh, wow, I probably should ask them how their day is or what's new with them. And that kicks in and gives you the opening to start telling them, excuse me. Well, funny you should ask that. You want to hear a story? And that's all I have for you guys to share this evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And hi, Lori.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tanya. That was so very good. Good practical information, guys. And this not only works with your potentials, but it works with your brand new ambassadors. Does anybody else, you know how we get a new ambassador and we get all excited, and so we puke all this information about what they need to do, and we send them a whole bunch of videos on Sonia Dudley and what they need to do? Well, I have a solution to fix that. You want to hear a story? So today, I did this with a brand new ambassador. I was like, so what do you want to learn next? And she came to me and she's like, okay, well, I want to know, so when do we get paid? Bam, I was able to answer her question. Okay, so what do you want to do next? Right? So it was just this thing that went on because it was what she wanted to know, not what we wanted to tell her, not what I wanted to tell her. And so often I'm so guilty of just getting so excited that I have somebody who says they want to go fast, start, gold, that I'm like, ah! And I just dump all this information on them. And then I think they get so overwhelmed, right? Anybody else feel me on that one? Right? So thank you, Tanya, for saying that. That was awesome. All right. Our next up is Theta. I'm just going to shout her out. Okay. So Theta and her husband traveled all the way from Florida to come to Big Al. She and her husband stayed at my house last night, and they were amazing. It was so good to actually get my hands on her. She was awesome. So I'm going to have her share.
Well, for me, and you guys bear with me, this is the first time I'm using my phone on a Zoom because my computer, I was away, so now I can't get it to work for me. So one of the biggest things that I wanted to repeat that they touch base on is not, we call, the puking plexus. Like when someone asks you, when you say, what do you want to know next? And they say, when do we get paid? I would say, we get paid, this time, instead of 5 times a month, I say, oh, we get paid 11 ways, and start telling them all about the comp plan. They don't want to know that. Make it concise and short. So when someone says, how long have you been doing this? I would say about 3.5 months. And I don't need to add, but Plexus has been around for, because they didn't ask me that. So it's really keeping it simple and keeping it concise. And I wanted to share with you, I'm comfortable if you guys feel that you're doing all you can to grow your businesses. But I'd feel very uncomfortable if I didn't share my amazing things that Big Al taught us to take our businesses to the next level. And that's something, I might be the only one on this call who's ever been rejected. I'm sure, that got a no and took it personally, and it hurt your heart. But if you phrase things that way to people, if you say, I'm comfortable if you're not ready to move forward, or I'm comfortable if you're happy with where you are with your health journey, but I would feel really uncomfortable if I didn't share the amazing things Plexus can do. And you can do that in person, in a voicemail. You can put it into text format. It's really amazing. And I practiced that. I had a long drive home to practice that today. Oh my gosh, it was amazing, you guys. The people that came back to me, well, I'm really not, they feel guilty firstly. They don't want you to feel uncomfortable, but I'm really not comfortable feeling crummy, those kind of things. So it takes the rejection out of it. So it takes the sting. They might reject you. They might say, well, yeah, I'm still good where I am. And that's okay. But you put it in their hands, and you didn't get the kind of the smack back or the crickets. Again, I might be the only one that gets crickets, I'm sure, right? But so Marianne did shout us out a little bit, but we drove 8 hours to get there. And unfortunately, you would think on a Tuesday it would be better, but it was about a 10-hour drive home today. So I just got in time to jump on the call. And something to reiterate again is that we don't know what we don't know. And so going to an event taught me so much. I thought I knew. I've done research. I've asked questions. I've done all these things. But I learned so much. I gleaned so much information from other ambassadors. But I also figured out, gee, I'm not the only one that gets that sting of rejection, or I'm not the only one. And sure, you see that on videos and you hear it from people, but it's true. And you heard people got to talk to Stacy, and you know what? Or someone who's newer than you, or who's just as afraid of you as you are to step out into, to talk to a stranger. So I encourage everyone to attend events, whether it's in your backyard or if it's something that you can do. And yeah, it wasn't necessarily feasible for us financially. Marianne, they were fabulous to let us stay there. That made us able to make that trip. And then we made some sacrifices to do it, but it was so worth it. And I can't wait to see what just applying these things that we learned there is going to do for my business and for Mike, because he helps me in my business and he supports me, so I appreciate it so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Theda. I so appreciate that. That was incredible. I think you made all of us teary-eyed on that one. That was really good. So thank you. Christy Fisher, we're going to hear from you next, and then we're going to end with Kendra's going to wrap it up, and we will be all done. So Christy, take it away, girl.
Thanks. Hey, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to share a little bit of what I picked up. I really enjoyed it. And to pick up where Theda left off, really and truly, going to events is super, super important. I've been in a slump first quarter. That's on me. But going to an event, again, that was very close to me, just is re-energizing. It's so nice to be around like-minded people. You get with folks that you haven't met, folks that you have met. It's nice to hug everybody and kind of chat a little bit, but it's also really good to just kind of dig in and share information. It's good to sit with people you've never sat with before. I met a young woman, her name's Vicky. Sat with her yesterday, and when Al was having us do some of the practice exercises, to say some of those magic words to one another that we all want to hear, that we've never heard before because our sponsors didn't tell us because they didn't know. That was really important. And you don't necessarily get the same information from the call after. We're going to try and impart to you everything that we learned, but we learned so much, and experiencing it firsthand is second to none. You just can't get everything crammed into a 1-hour call from a 3-hour event. But it was really good. I like the way that he related things in such a simple manner. It's not so much what you say, it's how you say it. It's the words you use to get across the message you're trying to get across. And it totally blew my mind away that we're not in the wellness business, that we're trying to get people to make a decision, either to buy our products or to join our team. That was probably the single most thing that came out of his mouth, that I sat there and was just shocked. I really had to sit there and look at him for a few minutes. I'm like, really? 2 years now, 2.5 years. I thought I was selling Plexus products, and here I'm just trying to get people to make a decision. It certainly helps to know what your job is. You know, he talked about job descriptions. If you start a new job in the regular corporate America, you have a specific set of requirements, things that you know from the very beginning that you're going to do. Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but my first day on Plexus, nobody said, Christy, your job is to get people to make a decision to either buy your products or join your team. That would have made such a difference. So I really appreciated the simplicity of that. And I really liked how he talked about how not everybody aspires to become a diamond. People get into network marketing for different reasons. Some of them just do it for the products. Some of it do it for the personal development. Some folks just want the fellowship, the friendships. But some people really want to make a career out of it. And the only way you're going to know what those people want is if you ask them. So when you get someone to make a decision to either join your team or buy your products, it's a good idea to find out what they really want. You know, I've had a couple of customers that started out just as customers, just for the products, because they trusted me and they've watched me. I was in Plexus for a year before I got my very first ambassador. And that person had been watching me for a year. So it's all about building those relationships. It's all about your energy. And it's about knowing what your people want, what your audience wants, and getting them and helping them to make those decisions. When I found out that we could have rejection-free conversation in 20 seconds or less, I was like, can we hit the do-over button? Because then I'd be all up in that diamond roll with Kendra, with the office and the chair and the perfect hair. But it was great. It was a lot of fun. It was a much-needed energy boost for me. And I just, I was really glad to be there. And it was so good to meet Lori. Lori and I met, I was actually sneaking out the back door. I just have to shout out to Lori real quick because I had a long drive home and I was just trying to absorb all of it. And she was like, wait! So it was really nice to hug you and say hey and get to talk in person. But that's what I got from it. I thought, I have like 3 pages of notes. I could talk all night, but we've got to get off the phone, so.
Yes, I know. Everyone has said something, and I'm like, oh, I just want to add a little nugget of something else, like just to reiterate that. So good. So thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. And Kendra is going to close us out. I can't wait to hear what she has to share. Kendra?
Okay, so I'm like, I feel like I've just relived Big Owl. And I know that if you guys were not there, you're probably hungry for so much more, because I know even after I sat there for 2.5 hours, I wanted more. And, it's like, it's hard to replicate what we felt in that room. I first of all want to thank Mary Ann for being bold and asking the icon to come and talk to our team. And I don't know what I was expecting, but it's not what I got. It was so much more. And so I hope and pray that each one of us that was there can replicate and duplicate what he taught us, because I'm going to actually ask for everyone's forgiveness because, and I'm going to be really transparent here. I have been completely clueless to the skill level to teach people how to do this business. And so I almost felt like each one of my level ones, I needed to go and be like, I am so sorry. Like that we totally need a whole do-over. And if we had had the skills and the training, we could have all been so much more successful in this business. And he talked a lot about, I guess my aha, Mary Ann, was when he was talking about how we have this like cookie cutter, success story of how we get someone to be successful.
Oh, we lost you, Kendra.
Are you still there?
Oh, yeah, that was like right at the pivotal moment.
It's like she went away. So it was kind of that, we kind of give that cookie cutter approach to, okay, Mary Ann, you're brand new in the business. I need you to get your Frank's list. Tell me your why that makes you cry. Get your vision board, and let's get you a personal growth book, right? Yay, you're going to be a diamond. And nothing happens. Like, Big Al's like, I worked this business for, I can't remember, I think he said like 18 months, and his wife is like, okay, dude, when's the money going to start coming in? What's going on? He's like, but I have my vision board, and I have my why that makes me cry, and I have my 200 friends on my Frank's list that I've recycled about 20 times because I've talked to about 1,500 people, and I still have no success. And oh wait, and I'm reading this great book, but nothing's happening. And so at that moment, it made me realize, I think that is the missing link for people when they desire that they want to actually, they hear maybe my story or Mary Ann's story and say, I want that. I want to be successful. A little bit, Mary Ann and I talked about this today, just in a really candid conversation. My aha moment last night was, some of my skill level comes natural. It's just kind of, I'm an extrovert. I can talk to people. I also grew up with a phenomenal salesman. He is one of the best of the best. He's wrote training manuals and gone around the country training people how to be successful in sales. My dad was the mayor of our town, which is like the epitome of being a networker. And then he was in the ministry. He was a minister of music. And so I watched my dad I was in the culture of networking. And so it was very natural to me. So I just assumed, Mary Ann, that it was natural to everyone. So I used to tell people, I'm like, if you could just come watch me and shadow me, I could, but I didn't know how to teach the skills, because not everybody comes into this growing up for 40 years of your life watching your dad naturally know how to connect and network with people. And so that was my aha moment, was if you're on this call and you desire and you have seen people be successful in this, and you desire to be successful in this, and whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, it doesn't really make a difference. There is a certain skill set that is very important you can either do it, he said, you can either do it your way, which is trial and error, which you may or may not get lucky and you may or may not be successful in the business, or you can learn the skills and you can be successful because they are tried, they're true. This man, when we say green, analytical, almost awkward to the point that you can't talk to him in a one-on-one conversation. I'm not joking. He is actually incredibly awkward. I admire Mary Ann for being that bold to actually sit in a car with him and talk to him. He's an engineer by trade.
It was all my training from growing up and having parents that were influential. It all came to head in the car, because it was it was awkward for me. So I know it was great.
He is so incredibly awkward, and it made me think, if this man can do it, any of you guys can do it. I promise. I don't know that I've ever met or talked to a more awkward character. He's super cool and super nice, and I really enjoyed my conversation, but it is literally I don't know. I can't describe it. But he's got the skills to be able to be successful in this business. And so I highly recommend learning the skills of talking to people. And just what Christy was saying and Tanya was saying about, we're in the decision-making process. You can study the products all day long. You can jump on a Zoom call. You can have as much passion, your why, your vision board, be reading, How to Win Friends and Influence People in your sleep, whatever it is that you're doing. And that's awesome. But if you do not know how to talk to people the right way, it's probably going to be a very frustrating process. So if you're feeling frustrated in the business, and I'm at a level, where I still want to grow my business. And so, even though I'm a diamond, I don't know it all. Like I said, I really feel like I need to go back and ask all of my level ones. I'm sitting in the room with several level ones and he's talking. I'm like, oh my gosh, I so did not teach any of my level ones any of this. Like, it's kind of embarrassing, And so I want to encourage you, the things that we talked about tonight, really dig in and learn the art of discussing with people how to help them make a decision. I told Marianne this today. Really, all leadership is, and if you desire to do this business, you're a leader. You're leading someone to help make a decision. You're a leader. Don't make it complicated. You're a leader. And all a leader is helping someone take their next steps. And so to be an ambassador of this product is just helping people make a decision to take their next step. That's it. It's super simple. So I loved it, Marianne. I had so many ahas. I always like to sit in the back of the room if anyone ever wants to know why I do that. I love to watch people's body language. I love to see what you guys are taking in. I feed from you guys, and everyone was so engaged. I could tell people were like, either they were crying or they were kind of wowed or they were taking notes. I could just really tell. I would say, and I've been doing this for 3.5 years, and this says a lot because I have heard a lot of amazing, amazing presentations. I would actually say last night was, if not the top presentation I've ever seen live, it was at least the second. It was phenomenal. Leo Boji is probably still my favorite, only just because of the transformation, because I just love personal growth. And that's the last thing I'll leave you guys with, is there's certain levels in this business that people go to. And some people, he almost gave people permission to just be okay to use Plexus for your social society, to have friends, to not feel alone, to maybe work on your personal growth and development, to use it as a support system. That's okay. Not everyone, I know this was shocking to me when I first started because I'm red and driven. It was really shocking to me that not everyone wanted to be a diamond. But I do believe a lot of people would want to be a diamond if they had the skill level to actually do it. I think that would help us out tremendously, Marianne, if we actually had the skills. So I know that Marianne and I are personally committed to studying some of the Big Owl information so that we can bring it back to the team. I know he gave a couple of free resources for you guys. He's got some great books. One of my favorites is the Icebreakers book. I absolutely love that book. It's really short, sweet, and to the point. And then, of course, the 4 Color Personalities is an absolutely phenomenal. Really, all of his books, short, sweet, to the point. And he gives you his 46 years of knowledge into like really short snippets for you to be able to learn the skills in the business. So Marianne, thank you so much for hosting this tonight. This was awesome. Everyone did so great. I just wish we could all be right back in that room with about 20% more of people. Like I wish we could have packed the whole thing out last night because it was so incredible.
I so agree. Thank you so much, Kendra. Thank you to everyone who shared tonight. Now, we will see you guys later. Y'all have a nice evening.
Bye.
Bye.